for joining and spending some more time with us to learn about products. We're going to start off the day with pre-kindergarten and talking about the product. My name is Melissa Lautenschlager, and I work in the Division of Instructional Materials and Implementation here at the Texas Education Agency. So glad to have you here. I'm going to jump in and get started with talking through pre-K. Because this is a meeting, please go ahead and make sure that you add questions as we go in chat, and I will do my best to answer them along the way. And then we'll have time at the end to discuss a little bit more. Teaching Strategies was not able to attend this morning, so for those of you who may have heard a little too much of my voice yesterday, I apologize, but we'll be hearing again today. They will be here in April, and so if there are questions specific for them, I also am in regular contact, so happy to bring anything if we're not able to answer it. Kendrick is here as well, and we may have some other TA folks on the line to help support and answer questions. But again, good morning, and I'll go ahead and get started. Kendrick, unless there's any housekeeping things you need.
No, I think we are all set. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you back today.
Great. Okay, so to really get us started, I'd love to jump in and talk about the pre-K product, which is Teaching Strategies Pre-Kindergarten Learning Solutions for Texas. Again, I'm Melissa, so if you have some questions, please let me know, and I'll be monitoring the chat as we go as well. For this morning's session, we're going to focus on the instructional components for Teaching Strategies and how is Teaching Strategies Learning Solution for Texas grounded in the research that we discussed a little bit yesterday, and these best practices and what is included in the product. We'll also talk about support for learning loss and other COVID challenges. We know that these are pre-K kids and they're coming to us and all kinds of, whether they've been to some kind of situation before, like a daycare. Many of the kids for this next year will likely have been home. It's been interesting. I have a 5-year-old niece, not in pre-kindergarten, but it's been an interesting year to start kinder. So definitely it'll be some different challenges, but maybe not for the pre-K teachers. I think they can handle when the kids come in and making sure that they're ready for school. We'll talk about licensing costs and additional considerations so that you're understanding how long this product is available through Texas Home Learning, and some other considerations that maybe you want to look at, even with the digital version free. And then we'll have a time for questions as we go. So let's start off with the instructional approach for Teaching Strategies and this particular product. So beginning here, I just wanted to give a quick summary before we dive more deeply into each of these components. So Teaching Strategies Pre-Kindergarten Learning Solution for Texas does meet all of the criteria for inclusion in Texas Home Learning and to meet our current situation, including the unit plans, which in this case are, when we talk about unit plans, they're called studies in pre-kindergarten, and the daily lessons are investigations. And so within Teaching Strategies, there are teaching guides and daily resources aligned to the pre-K guidelines. You're able to search them, those studies and investigations throughout to help with the learning experience. And it's truly an integrated program, bringing in all the domains of pre-kindergarten. There are at-home guided learning plans, which are incredibly helpful for families. There are Mighty Minutes and guided learning experiences that are created specifically for families and able to look at like those transitions and those components for pre-K. The digital access to the curriculum resources and family resources are available, and those are free for Texas. And they have a printing option to support all families and the teachers' use. With the accessibility supports for all learners, it's really intended to support any type of learner, including English language and dual language learners, advanced learners, children with disabilities, through true individualized instruction. It's culturally sensitive, and its approach, and they also have trans-adapted materials. And so there's a lot of great resources within this product that really support and individualize for student needs. And then an exciting part that we have with this product is Gold, which is the formative and summative assessment tool that's really part of the instruction, so that it's not a disruption. So it's embedded throughout. This is a great product, and many schools have used Gold in the past, whether they use teaching strategies or not. And it was something that we really wanted to work for, to make sure that that formative assessment part was there as we're monitoring that students are prepared for pre-K, for kindergarten. Within the built-in progress monitoring, there's a combination of intentional teaching experiences and the Gold. So it allows teachers to track individual student development and provide guidance. Really excellent progress monitoring, and it is incorporating all of the English language arts, math, social and emotional learning, and physical development, all the aspects of what assessment needs to be. As we go here, I wanted to jump into a couple more things about the components. So some interesting parts about this program is that no matter what a teacher's needs are right now, they have many, many resources that are aligned to the TPGs, and they're available in both English and Spanish, intended to elevate the teacher's practice and impact for students. And you can see there are a lot of different parts of this product, and it's able to be used and support individual needs, and for the teacher to be able to make some really great instructional decisions. For the digital access in the Creative Cloud for Texas, this has the comprehensive curriculum, the Gold assessment tool, and many professional development videos that are available in the library. So all of that comes with the product itself. I did want to point out that there are some digital books and stories that are included within this, but it does not include additional big books. And so I'll talk a little bit about the manipulatives in the big books a little bit later, but there are many digital books and stories online available through this. And we'll talk about what there are options, because the product itself, the main components of the product are free for the digital use. It does provide an option for Texas to add on components if you're interested, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So looking at this virtual component, it is adapted so that there is remote, in-class, and hybrid experiences. So one of the things we worked with teaching strategies over, and we actually started working with them last summer, if some of you remember that, but they were trying to provide flexibility for educators to meet the needs of all children and families as we're really beginning to navigate the landscape. This happens traditionally, but in this past year, it has been even more so. And I think many families have discovered that virtual can be options when there are situations. And so I think having the ability to flexibly move between environments is going to be really important moving forward in education. The curriculum is designed in a way that allows educators to adapt their instruction depending on which environment they're working in. There are supplemental materials and teacher editions, Mighty Minutes that can be used throughout the day and chosen based on needs of a student. There's a lot of flexibility that's embedded within the product itself. And definitely there's videos and all of those aspects to support and remote learning. Before I move into some next components, I want to make sure if you have any questions that you're just adding those to the chat so I can monitor those as I go. I want to make sure I'm answering. You're also welcome to come off mute at any time and ask. We want this to be interactive and for you to have a voice here. One of the commitments from teaching strategies is about the whole child foundation. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and their approach to the curriculum design and those research-based instructional strategies. So as we look at this, we're really talking about the ability to have the student-led inquiry throughout hands-on and play-based learning, which is so important at this grade, at this age group. Skills and knowledge are differentiated by accelerated growth. And so there's guidance throughout that supports children where they are as they come in very different developmental levels here at pre-K, and also about the social skill development in every interaction. And so we're going to jump into the components of this. Again, it's intended to be seamless between home and school, and especially at this age level, it's really important to have a strong connection with families, and there's supports throughout the curriculum that help to do so. As we look into a little deeper into the materials, there are 38 objectives for development and learning that cover all areas of development and learning. There's a direct alignment between the 38 objectives and the pre-kindergarten guidelines. These objectives aligned with each study are listed in the teaching guide, but the alignment of the specific pre-kindergarten guidelines is listed by each activity and investigation as well. And remember, those investigations are those daily lessons. There is 100% alignment to the TPGs and shared research basis. So I just was giving an example here of where you can see the social emotional domain and really looking at where students are and helping to support with specific instructions that support the growth for students. Just moving in a little bit, looking at some of the domains and understanding a little bit more of how these objectives are aligning to the pre-kindergarten guidelines. Progressions of development ensures that as educators, we're informed and prepared to meet the needs of all learners, no matter where their skills are along a progression. And so these progressions of development are found in the gold assessment tool and the intentional teaching experience. And so you can see the progression that's happening, and there's some color coding that supports with understanding. While the Texas Pre-Kindergarten Guidelines provides us with the end-of-year outcomes for all Texas pre-K children, we know that young children often come to school with varying experiences and abilities. Therefore, teaching strategy shows the typical progression of specific skills through a structured set of learning experiences to help educators identify where a child is and where they need to go. So taking a look at this, for example, objective 20 uses number concepts and operations. This aligns to the pre-kindergarten guideline VA9. I know you all have those memorized. There's a lot in there. That's a long document, by the way. was just talking to the agency about that. It has color-coded bands that represent the research-based, widely held expectation for children at that particular grade level. Having the color-coded bands that shows the development progression of set skills allows teachers to adapt instruction based on where the children falls in the progression rather than providing the same instruction to every child based on age. Especially at this point, students are really needing some individualized instruction for development to be ready for kinder. Teaching strategies is built on studies, not on units, and studies explore topics like boxes that are relevant to a child's everyday experience as opposed to abstract concepts like dinosaurs and planets. Students, these studies are flexible and based on children's interests and encourage children's naturally inquisitive nature over time. Every study and every day begins with children's questions. Through exploration, discovery, and hands-on learning, they dig deep to find answers to their questions. And you can really see what's happening with the materials that are built around these studies. So really looking at the exploration of the topic, it's very flexible, lots of opportunities for students to explore and discover, but around things that they have some familiarity, and then moving to a deeper focus. The Texas studies include water, which is the one that we chose for the spring pilot, wheels, simple machines, music making, gardening, and boxes. And these study topics foster creative, confident, and caring learners by providing limitless exploration for a child's mind to think and explore. Real STEM, so really looking at those STEM concepts that a young child can feel and touch both at home and in the classroom. Each investigation in the teaching guide begins with an at a glance page where you can see an overview of the lessons by section of the day and identify which student outcomes from Texas pre-kindergarten guidelines is taught. The TPGs are spiraled throughout the week and then across the studies. And you can see that it is robust and there's an opportunity for a lot of integration across the domains. Within each investigation is an essential question, and that question guides children's exploration of the study topic by honing in on specific elements and then facilitating the integration of all learning domains within that topic. And you can see a little bit more that there is truly an integration across the TPGs through the investigations and the studies. So looking into even this career development, what jobs involve boxes? What do you know? The questions are really driving the topic and the experience. So every study includes a web of investigations, and teachers can use the web to organize their ideas about the study topic and define what children might explore. The web investigations is a high-level breakdown of the varying aspects that an investigation might cover. So it's giving a visual map for the teachers to understand what is happening within each investigation to prepare for instruction. Texas Home Learning also includes the digital children's book collection, which features a collection of nonfiction books that is available for teachers to share during remote learning or to project for children to explore in the classroom. These do require a teacher to read, and so having that text read aloud to children, that can be done in remote, but also it's available through the digital components for the teacher to project again and read with students. Before I move on, I want to check if there's any questions, and then we're going to jump into how does teaching strategies support any learning loss and COVID challenges, even though this is, for many kids, their first experience with school. Again, please feel free to enter the chat, jump off if you do have some questions. I'm happy to try to answer as we go. So if you attended day one yesterday, we really talked and spoke about the COVID pain points and perhaps identified additional challenges in your district. We did hear from people about what's happening there. I'm going to highlight some of the features of teaching strategies that offer support in addressing these major pain points, where we're talking about learning gaps, capacity for teachers, and then questions about what will be happening next year and anticipating the new school year. So what is most important to note is that the features are truly integrated into Teaching Strategies program, and using all of these components as intended will support 3 and 4-year-olds who have missed learning this past year. Due to pre-kindergarten children's young age and instruction along a developmental continuum, strong instruction with the materials can be the best approach to addressing this learning loss. So let's look at 2 major components of teaching strategies that can support with COVID learning loss: the GOLD assessment tool and the family supports. Importance of both formative and summative assessment to drive ongoing progress monitoring. We're going to jump into this and really talk about how this can be used to support where students are in identifying and then building individual structures. So in a remote setting, parents play an integral role in capturing student progress. They can send pictures of work their children have done, videos of children doing an activity or demonstrating a skill, or write anecdotal summaries of the child's progress. So that is one way to capture in a remote setting where children are, if the teacher's not able to view what's happening directly. Let's jump into the assessment a little bit. It's really just intentional and responsive teaching. So really thinking about assessment as looking at what's happening and then making those decisions based on what we're seeing and observing with students. Like all materials available in both English and Spanish, these are designed for small group instruction and help connect teaching and assessment. So the names of students are auto-populated within the assessment and help teachers know exactly where students are along a developmental continuum for a particular skill. Intentional teaching experiences have differentiation built in and give scripted directions on how to facilitate student learning at the different levels within the progression. One of the things I'm seeing in the chat is there a way to get students' name and info into the GOLD system? And so teaching strategies, probably working with what you currently are using for an SIS to do some rostering, they'll work with you to be able to integrate and put student names directly in there as part of the setup for the digital for your campus in your classroom. So if you can see here, really looking at these intentional experiences, and what is interesting to see is this color coding to help to support where students are, and then what is the specific next step that's helpful. Texas Home Learning for pre-kindergarten includes the GOLD progress monitoring tool. Data from GOLD aligns beautifully with the intentional teaching experience, and teachers can rely on their GOLD data to adjust and plan for additional intentional teaching experiences. So they work integrated, and it comes as part of the package for Texas Home Learning. There's two talking about two-way communication with the families, it plays an integral role in learning for young children. So the Teaching Strategies Family app can be downloaded for free and will allow for two-way communication between teachers and families. And the app can be used in a variety of ways, including sharing activities, sharing notes, ability to turn family attachment notes into documents. So this is a really interesting feature because even if families may not have a device at home, they can put the app on their phone. So that's a really interesting way to be able to communicate with the families and with the children at home. And when we're talking about this and sharing those plans, you can use tools and features within the materials to share these plans and information with families. If teachers want to address specific skills or target learning gaps, they can go to the Teach tab on the web platform and choose an intentional teaching experience and click on the Family tab to see the family-friendly language for the specific skill. Teachers can copy that language and add it to an at-home learning guide if they want to, or customize for specific learning goals for students. So they're able to use it as it is and helps to guide with the language to provide to families or customize as needed. A question's coming up about how does the family feature work if this is integrated into your platform? So you are interacting with, a teacher would be working with the platform there within your school. And then if you are connecting out to families, you're actually making it specific to a student logging in. And so the family would be able to work with the student, log in, and then they would see whatever you put into the family feature. Hope that's answering. We'll come back to that question a little later if I did not. The planning also offers 180 days of at-home guided learning plans that are ready to go and organized by those very same topics. We looked at boxes, water, wheels. The at-home learning guides include parent-friendly directions with the curriculum, provides some intentional guided learning, and uses Mighty Minutes to help transition. The at-home learning guides adapt and streamline the learning to reflect the realities of at-home learning. They also include prompts for families to share back documentation of their children or their child's learning and development. At-home learning guides have the capacity to be customized for families if teachers want to add additional information to them. So this is really a great way for families to have all of these at-home learning guides and be able to provide instruction and support at home as needed. Talking about Mighty Minutes, I wish I had had these when my kids were little. Maybe I still need it for my 16-year-old some days. If you have a 16-year-old son too, you might feel the same. So every moment matters right now. The final component that Teaching Strategies offers is 130 Mighty Minutes that give you songs, chants, games, and rhymes that are directly aligned to the pre-kindergarten guidelines, and they're used in transitions and in between moments for little people that can be antsy but have an opportunity to learn through different modalities, which is great. We have family equivalents in both English and Spanish, especially here in Texas to meet the needs of the communities that we serve. No matter what a teacher's biggest needs are right now, there are the many resources that are aligned to the TPGs and available again in both English and Spanish, and truly is intended to support, elevate the teacher's practice and impact for students. So with that, let's look a little bit at what we're hearing already from some of our Texas educators. So just wanted to share some quotes that we've seen. So the project-based approach in the creative curriculum really immerses children in the learning environment. With the creative curriculum, the child is both the giver and receiver of knowledge, which is amazing. So they get to be that part. It's truly interactive. So really appreciative to those who have already been using and giving feedback as they go. I'm going to jump into talking about licensing cost and additional considerations to really understand how long we have this product, what all that means, especially with the Proclamation 2021. And many schools are looking at adopting pre-K for this next school year. So just wanted to share with you that currently, when you look at this, we have access to Teaching Strategies Pre-Kindergarten Learning Solution for Texas for free. This is available until 2023. So it's not in perpetuity, but it is available for a few years. After November 2023, districts would need to purchase to continue to have access to the product. So it does give you a little bit of time and can be a cost saving measure if you were planning to spend on a digital license. And just to let you know, the Curriculum Cloud itself is priced at $800 a class, and the gold is $12 a student. So for 2 years, this is really helping to think about your potential savings if you were looking at adopting a full product. So just some considerations to have. That's 2 years of having this product. If we look here, I just wanted to share a little bit about with the product itself. There are some components we'll look at that you could decide to purchase for extra that are add-ons, but the gold and all of what I was talking about with the digital library and the materials for teachers are available free right now for Texas until that time, 2023. Some great opportunities to try out. We are currently doing the spring CRMSI, and that's underway, which you could learn from other districts surrounding if you're not participating. But you do have some other options that you could get involved and get support with using these materials. So there's a spring adoption coaching. So if you want to take others through an experience to see if this is the right product for you, we're going to have some supports with that happening the end of the school year. There's a summer pilot that you could think about getting kids ready for kinder, especially after this year. And there's an opportunity to get support with that. And pre-K is part of that summer pilot, which is exciting. And then there is the full year pilot for next year. And so right now you have those opportunities to apply and be a part of that pilot. And this is a really great opportunity to receive extra support and training as you think about and use the pre-kindergarten solution here with Teaching Strategies. Just a reminder, if you are considering summer or you want some support with adoption coaching, to make sure to get those applications in by April 9th. And I'll share again where to find that in case you're interested. For the full year pilot, we'll be taking applications on a rolling basis through June 11th. I did just want to remind you that there are many products that are available as part of the CRMSI summer pilot, but it's exciting to have pre-K, and especially after this year, you may need some additional support to get kids ready for kinder next year. In addition to those pilot opportunities, we do have some summer learning pieces that are happening with the statewide webinars. We're going to have some planning resources, and then shortly we'll be releasing the summer units. So you'll be able to engage and get support, especially if you're looking at doing summer learning with pre-K students. And we know that that is something that you're considering, especially for our bilingual population, and looking for ways to best support students and families throughout the summer. Just a quick overview of upcoming webinars. I want to remind you again that on April 6th, Teaching Strategies will be here, and you can ask some direct questions to the publisher themselves. If I was not able to answer, or you're coming up with some additional questions once you've had time to explore the product. So I'm going to stop now, and we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to open it up to questions. And happy to answer as much as I can. If I can't answer, I certainly will get it written down and be able to share out later. So I'm going to stop sharing and open it up. You can put things in the chat, or you can come off mute and just ask your questions. So I have a question about lesson planning. TA doesn't do any of that lesson planning. We are working with teaching strategies to make sure that they meet our expectations. So teaching strategies, if you weren't aware, was already part of and on the state adopted list for Texas. That product was submitted and reviewed for the alignment. We also reviewed it through the Texas Resource Review, if you're interested in that. But we've been working with teaching strategies we've been providing a lot of feedback and giving guidance that really support the current situation with remote learning. We also are giving a lot of guidance from our early childhood team to make sure that the product gives the supports and aligns with our expectations. So I would say the Texas Home Learning product is even helping to make teaching strategies better. And I know our team has been working really hard, and teaching strategies has been a great partner in improving their product as they go. I did want to share that, we do have some supports with these CRMSI to help with coaching and training. And so that's a great opportunity. PD doesn't come for free. And so, often you're trying to figure out how can you train up all your teachers. Participating in CRMSI might be a really great option for you. The cost of the product. I did share that typically the digital program is about $800 a class. Gold is about $12 a student. And so for 2 years, you do have some great savings, and you could use it in a different way. If you were already considering making a purchase, that does reduce the overall 8-year expense if you're thinking about it in that way. And you might want to be able to look at some of the other add-ons that are available. Purchasing print, for example, for people that want to have those. There's some books that can be purchased alongside. Manipulatives do need to be purchased if you don't already have those. And so those are things you could think about using your allotment funds in a different way. I had a question about how can teachers get started with using the program. If you go to, I'll put it in the chat again, but if you go to the texasHomeLearning.org and you look at the instructional materials and pre-K, there's a button to click that says register. You fill out a little information, and then teaching strategies will help to get you that digital access. They're very quick about that. They have about a 24-hour turnaround. And if you need some additional support, let me know. 100% of the pre-K guidelines are covered. That you can see that with the state adopted. And then I had a question about the Texas Resource Review. That information is free. Dana, thank you for putting in the chat the website, and you're welcome to look at the reviews. Just so you know, that is not, we've been working with them. So if you see some areas you're like, wow, there's some places that Texas or the agency has been working with them to even provide more feedback and improve their product so that it really meets our expectations. Other questions that maybe you have about the product? I also have Dana Moyer on here that knows a ton. Oh, a question about ESCs. So the ESCs have gone to trainings and in many ways are working to support with pre-K as well. And so we look to them as being partners. And so they did some training to help support districts with the use of this product. And so you can also contact your local ESC to see what they're providing in supports for pre-kindergarten, but we'll continue through the agency to provide additional support, especially if you're considering CRMSI. It's just a really great opportunity to have that additional training and supports as teachers are learning the product. I was not a pre-K teacher, and I've been amazed over the last year to learn all about the components. It's complex and there's so many different things, but when you're trying to integrate a system and thinking about the studies and bringing everything together, it's pretty amazing, but you have to understand how to use it well and how all the components fit together. So really important opportunity if you're still thinking about CRMSI.
And Melissa, there was a question that I think may have come through directly to me that was about acceptance into pilot programs and how that works.
Yeah, fill out the application. We would love to have you join. You know, Commissioner Morath is very much in let's support as many schools as we can to use high quality products that we are working to provide for free digitally. And another question about the alignment to the TEKS. Teaching strategies is 100% aligned to the TPGs. Any product that is in Texas Home Learning must be 100% aligned to the TEKS and pre-K for the TPGs. So again, if you're interested in CRMSI, there is some more opportunities coming up in the next few weeks to learn more, but please go onto the website for texashomelearning.org and apply. It's a short application and that gets your foot in the door to be able to receive some additional support.
One additional one, could you clarify some of the acronyms? We know there's a lot that get thrown around. So TPG was one. Also questions about what does SSO mean when we're talking about some of those systems.
Yeah, thanks. Those are so great questions. Sorry, you know, education, we love some acronyms. TPG is the pre-kindergarten guidelines, which are standards in Texas for pre-kindergarten. They are different than the TEKS, and they're aligned to the 10 domains and have outcomes. Happy to support if you need a link to that. When we start talking about SSO, and I mentioned your SIS system, this is about what you use for rostering your students and your connection to like PEIMS and accounting for attendance. I mentioned that because if you are looking to have auto-generated student names in gold, you can work with teaching strategies to be able to set up an account, and they can work to roster your students directly in there. The other part is that we were talking about is if you have an LMS system, so something like Canvas, or you use Schoology, and you're wanting to integrate teaching strategies into that system for easy access for teachers and families. Teaching strategies is set when you fill out that registration on texasHomeLearning.org. You're able to connect directly with them, and they can help to integrate the system into what you have for your school and work with you on rostering, depending on, there's many different programs. And so just want to mention that's an opportunity. They also are able to do that SO, is that single sign-on. Something like Clever is an example where a student signs on and they have access to the programs that the district has purchased. We have a few minutes left. Other questions people have? Well, happy to, if you do have another question, you'll have an opportunity on April 6th to meet with Teaching Strategies. They have a session that they're hosting. So I encourage you to go register and explore and be able to use this free digital resource. Consider looking at Crimsy and applying. You can come April 6th to ask Teaching Strategies questions. You also can always email us at texasHomeLearning@tea.texas.gov, and we're happy to answer those questions. Kendrick shared a link to feedback for this session in the chat. We would really appreciate receiving feedback so we can help to support. And I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes to be able to answer any questions. And then Kendrick, who do we have up next at 9:30?
Coming up next, if you're staying on for the next session, we will have Amplify sharing their K-5 English and Spanish products. So they'll be talking about both options that they have available. So that's coming up next.
Great. Thank you all for joining today.